Mayor Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ott. Trustee Antonopoulos.
Here.
Trustee Kimberly. Trustee Jeffrey.
Here.
Trustee Westcott.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And now, looking for motion for approval of the agenda. We have a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. I'll second.
Okay. Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Westcott.
Yes.
Trustee Ott. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Antonopoulos.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Thank you.
And motion carries. Do we have any audience business?
We do. We had one email come in from a Samantha, and she just wanted me to share that she thinks that the city should take care of the ice frozen situation on 37th Avenue, and this is a public space, and if it was a private space, the city would surely be fining the private citizen, the private citizen all. All we're asking for is the ice to be removed.
Okay. So is this a public area, someplace that we maintain, or is this a private?
So my understanding, what I learned today was that this is on 37th between Poplar and Locust, and I think there is a post office box there, like maybe a cluster box. And so the couple, they are handicapped and unable to get their mail because the ice accumulates there. And after talking to Mark and the CSO Carrie, it seemed like it was like one of their responsibilities, like it's part of their sidewalk area.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that looks like something we need to, looks like we got Trustee Kimberly and Trustee Ott in at 6:34.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Well, is that something you guys are looking into, or is it something, because I am concerned about that, especially we have an elderly couple. Is it the elderly couple's icy space that needs to be shoveled or moved off?
I believe it is, but if I'm not mistaken, Carrie, let's see if I brought her email. She might have, let's see if I brought it.
Do you mind if I address that?
Oh, yes, please.
So the day of the complaint, Public Works actually went out with the backhoe and removed the ice, as well as worked with Carrie because the sidewalks have not been cleared in that area. So worked with Carrie so that she could inform the residents of the ordinance to clear the sidewalks for snow removal. And so we've been working with her to make sure that that happens in those areas, especially where the mailbox cluster boxes are at. So that was addressed the day of, and we're just working with residents to make sure they clear those sidewalks off.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for your diligence. All right, anything else, Ms. Blackstone?
No, there were no other comments.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. First item is the payment approval report in the total of $144,837.74, as well as the January 19th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Trustee Antonopoulos.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Trustee Kimberly.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Westcott.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the motion carries. All right, the next item is the approval of release of retainage and final payment to Duran Excavating. Mr. Jones?
Before you board, basically notice was given to release the final retainage project for Duran Excavation. John Eddy, who was the head and the lead for that project, sent us a letter that said that basically we were at the point to be able to get public notice, which that notice was given on January 27th. What I'm looking for is just board approval to release the remaining funds for that retainage.
Mark, may I just add a little, just for the new board members who may not know how public contracting works in this way? And that's that when you have a contract over a certain dollar amount, which this project accounted for, under state law, you have to hold back a certain amount of money, called the retainage. And what we do is we advertise out there just to make sure that there's not somebody who might have performed work on that project who wasn't in fact paid by the contractor, so they would have a claim and to be compensated for the project. So once we publish that notice, if nobody comes forward and says, I got an issue, then we're free to release the retainage. So that's really what we're the stage that we're at right now.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Antonopoulos?
I do have a question about this, and I am familiar with how retainage works. Our original contract sum with Duran was 2.4 million and change, and there was a change order basically bringing the contract sum to 2,577,000 and change, but completed to date is 2.7 million. So I'm wondering, why is there a $125,000 difference if it wasn't a change order? I mean, normally retainage is still part of the total contract price.
Anyone have an answer?
So I believe the difference in that is when they finished up the work on County Road 2, so they wouldn't conflict with Asphalt Specialties and their work at the same time. So that additional work was for the Roundabout project, which extended west to finish up that last section of County Road 2. I think that's the difference in their net account, net cost number.
But wouldn't there still be a change order?
We discussed that with the board on them picking up that work. So it probably just wasn't showed as a formal.
I guess I
order in
just,
this.
I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo.
Yeah,
I guess, I'm in construction and I'm a stickler for contracts. And I understand change orders happen, and that's okay. But why isn't there a change order that says, we did this, and this is how much we're paying you guys for it?
Because I muted myself, but I shouldn't.
I don't know why it's not reflected on this summary sheet, but we went through the process to add that additional work to that contract. I don't know why it's not showing up on this summary.
But it is based on a additional work is the additional cost, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have to be honest, I'm not comfortable approving this payment without documentation about this additional $125,000. I mean, it needs to be documented. What are we paying these people for? They might be owed it, sure. But why isn't there a change order? Why isn't there something in writing?
I completely agree with Trustee Antonopoulos.
Do we have anything like that, or do we have any documentation that reflects that, Steve?
I'll have to ask John Eddy, who was the project engineer, to give us that description.
And based upon receipt of documentation of that difference, I'm totally okay with it. It's just we're spending the townspeople's money, and we need to know where that's going, and that's a lot of money for anybody, and we need to have documentation of what we're paying for. I mean, I also noticed, I understand again how retention works, and the amount, the difference is not 5%, it's not 10%. Normally retainages are a flat amount of the total contract price, including change orders. And this is just some random amount. It just doesn't make me very comfortable.
Okay. We'll have John Eddy explain that final contract amount.
All right, so what would the board like to do? Anyone?
Jamie has her hand up.
Go ahead. Trustee Jeffrey?
I move that we table action item A, the approval of release of retainage and final payment to Duran Excavating until we have that additional documentation.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Yeah, can I know you have a motion, but can I ask a question to Maureen about this?
You're
You're muted.
muted, Linda.
Sorry, I think that's where my echo was coming from. So anyway, Maureen, we've published it that they're going to get paid. So I'm just trying to clarify. I get why you want to do it. I just want to make sure what I need to do next.
It's a bit of a timing issue. I understand where the trustees, why the trustees are concerned and wanting to see just sort of how all the documentation flowed. It may have been that there had been a motion of the board in a prior meeting and it wasn't actually written up. I'm not sure. My guess is it is written up somewhere though, and the contract engineer or the project engineer will have that. We published notice that we're going to make final payment to Duran on February 8th. Today is the 2nd. We can continue that. I mean, the purpose of that is sort of that's the period to speak now or forever hold your peace if you had some sort of a claim to be made. So I'm not so concerned, but I do think Duran may be concerned about not getting paid now until the 16th, I guess, which would be our next board meeting. And I don't necessarily want to have a special meeting called for that purpose. So I'm wondering about another option, which would be if we can get that documentation and it can be reviewed and approved by, you name it, the mayor, the town administrator, and the town's attorney. And
Maureen, can we make a motion to make this payment contingent on that paperwork?
yes, that's what I'm suggesting. Contingent on somebody showing us where that extra 125,000 was.
I'll consider that a friendly amendment to my motion.
And I will second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Thank you. Trustee Ott. Trustee Ott. Trustee Kimberly.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Westcott.
Yes.
Trustee Antonopoulos.
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Mr. Ott, you're muted if you're still there. Okay, well, we have enough to pass this, so motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll be sure to get a copy of that documentation and review it, and we could even potentially send it out to the board if you're interested.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think
Okay.
I would appreciate that if it can
All
be
right.
sent to all members of the board.
Please. Okay. Yeah, it will be disseminated to all board members. And after it's done, then the payment will go out. All right, let's move on here to the IGA for the Spear Canal crossing. Mr. Stamey, Mr. Duran? Spear Canal.
Do you want me to take that, Mr. Stamey?
Sure.
I'll start. You can add more flavor. As you all know, the Silver Peaks East, which is really the third amendment to the Silver Peaks filing, is getting going. And they're going to build a street, I think it's called Ledge Street, that's going to cross the Spear Canal as it sits through the center of that property. And what this IGA says is that the town will take over maintenance of Ledge Street essentially once they complete the construction of the road and the warranty period expires, which is of course how we handle most public improvements that are dedicated to the town for future maintenance. But in this case, because FRICO granted them permission basically to put Ledge Street across that canal, FRICO was very concerned to make sure that we had understanding and government in agreement between the district and the town, but whereby the district the town is agreeing to go ahead and take that maintenance on in perpetuity and adhere to FRICO's rules on our maintenance responsibilities.
So that's what this agreement does.
Mr. Stamey, did you have something further?
I don't at the moment.
Okay, so that their warranty period is 1 year, I'm assuming?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Any questions or comments from trustees? And I'm not seeing any hands, so with that, we'll move forward to a motion. Anyone want to make a motion? Or does it die?
I'll move that we accept the intergovernmental agreement regarding partial assignment maintenance of certain Spear Canal crossing improvements.
Okay, motion, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, take your choice on seconds and
All right.
roll call, please.
Mayor Mahoney,
Yes.
Trustee Kimberly,
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey,
Yes.
Trustee Antonopoulos,
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Thank you.
There he is.
Trustee Westcott.
Yes.
Thank you.
And motion carries. All right, move on to the discussion items, the IGA with the city of Brighton regarding CR2 road maintenance. Mr. Johns. Johns.
Yeah, before you is just kind of a description, something we've been discussing for quite some time as far as an IGA with Brighton, as far as the maintenance and the median construction of 168th. I did include a little bit of a map where you can see that the town of Lochbuie, our responsibility is in red, Brighton is in blue, so we have a portion of 168th that is shared. I've also attached the IGA for you to review.
And just for your information, board, that map that he's referring to is actually in the agenda.
Okay.
I'm
Any
sorry,
questions?
I'm hearing quite an echo, but it's in the agenda before the canal crossing.
I don't know where we're getting that echo from, but
I think it might have
it's
been-
gnarly.
I think maybe Mr. John still had his microphone on, but I just wanted to point out to you all that the packet, that map is before the item that we just discussed in the packet. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Ms. Jeffrey, did you have something?
I was just motioning as page 20 of our packet, if that's helpful to anybody.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments on this item? No discussion. It's supposed to be a discussion item. So, yeah, I don't really have anything on it either.
I can tell you that we saw an email today from, right, Steve, from Mike Woodruff with the city of Brighton telling us that their council will be looking at this in March. So they're interested in knowing, of course, whether our board is going to approve it this evening, but.
Well, I really don't have any issue with it. I don't know how anyone else feels about it. Anyone have anyone against it? I think we're all kind of for letting Brighton go ahead and take care of it. So, all right, well, no discussion, nobody's arguing with me, so.
So we'll bring this forward as an action item at the 16th meeting.
Yep. Okay. All right, then we will move on to the next item, and be the food truck discussion. I had actually received the email, and was it Trustee Westcott? No, who was it? Was it Trustee Westcott? Okay.
Yes.
And one of the things, well, several things that concern me about the food truck thing. I love doing it. I love the idea. It's something I thought about doing a while back. But it's not something that I want to put the town into doing because we don't have the staffing to do that. Now, I don't know, I can't recall if we have, we talked about it earlier about in the budget, if we had the funding in there for festivals and festivities, things of that nature, if those monies could be used towards that. But as far as the town setting it up, I think there's a little bit of there's a lot of issue with it. It's much easier for an individual or a group of people to do it on a piece of private property, and or work through the town to make it happen. Getting the permits but as far as having the town do it, I think it'd be a struggle. But Ms. Westcott, if you wanted to speak on this, by all means.
This was actually a suggestion that came from a citizen via social media. I think it's a great idea. I think it presents some solutions to a couple of different issues that we've talked about in previous board meetings, just in terms of giving townspeople something to do, since we've had to cancel all of our events for 2020 primarily. It also, I think it gives us the opportunity to support small businesses in the town. I do understand that we don't necessarily have a standing events committee or someone who is tasked to coordinate events, but my understanding was that there is money in the budget to pay for events and possibly to hire someone to be an event coordinator, planner, something of that sort. And I don't know why we can't just go ahead and start moving forward, since that money has been budgeted.
Well, I don't know that we have money in the you correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, we have money in the budget to hire someone or hire an events coordinator. I don't know that we had that.
In the legislative budget, there is $32,000 for special events.
Okay. So, yeah. Again, I think I'm of the mind that something like this, if I were going to do it, I'd take the reins and I'd make it happen, through the city, and not have the city do it, but, make it happen as a private event. I honestly, I like it. I like the idea. I think it's a great thing. I think it'd be a fun thing. Some of the downsides to having food trucks, especially if the city sets it up, we can run into, which I've dealt with, is a lot of these food trucks want a guaranteed minimum. So they'll want that funding set aside. So we have to guarantee they make a minimum, and we can't guarantee that. We don't know. I mean, I'd love to say that we're going to have a great turnout, but it runs into those things. So anyone else have any? Trustee Antonopoulos?
I guess I'm just wondering, like, more specifically, what are we talking about? Like, are food trucks allowed to operate within the town of Bowie, period? A. But B, are we talking about hosting an event where food trucks come? I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what exactly are we talking about?
Would you like to elaborate on that, Ms. Westcott?
I don't know that I have a full answer for that. I think the point that I wanted to get this on the agenda was to start the discussion about it. I remember a few years ago, there was a single food truck that would set up at the Family Dollar on Friday nights. And then they'd send out an email to the community and say, hey, we're open. And that was just kind of a fun thing to do, to go and support. They're a Silver Peaks resident, Loch Bowie resident. And so it was fun to go support them, but also to have an opportunity to sort of eat out within the town of Loch Bowie, since they're, other than, the Subway and the Sandbar, there's not really a whole lot of places you can take your kids to for dinner. I think so I could see this playing out in a variety of ways. It could be something as simple as we reach out to people who operate, who live within the city boundaries, and just say, are you interested in setting this up? We'll figure out a place to host it, and you can come set up and sell food and make some money maybe. Or it could be, much more complicated than that. But that's sort of my initial thinking on it.
Okay, I mean, that makes more sense. I mean, I was just trying to figure out what exactly, are food trucks allowed in the town of Loch Bowie, period? Can someone answer that question? I don't know.
Our zoning regulation has standards for land uses, including food trucks. So they can be located on private property in a commercial zoning district. It's a conditional use, which requires a public hearing to approve that use at that location. So the board would authorize that use.
Okay, so if a food truck wanted to come in, they would need to get a permit from the city, right?
They
From
would
the
need
town.
to apply for a conditional use review, which is a public hearing with the Board of Trustees.
Just trying to make it clear just what, how that would work. But I absolutely agree with May that, I mean, supporting small businesses is extremely important and all the more important now. So, and I agree with her too, that yes, it's just something kind of fun, but should it be town sponsored? I don't know, I'm sure there's liability issues with that.
Okay, Trustee White?
Yes, so this has been a question I've had. I've actually had interest of people who have reached out to me that own food trucks. I know 2 people pretty well that own food trucks, and I have tried to host them in my own neighborhood, and it ran into the same issue where I've called the town. Nobody could answer my question on whether or not we needed a permit for them to be in the street. Earlier today, I did speak to Linda, and she stated that she believed it was a $25 permit. And then possibly that same condition of being, having to be on commercial land. Now that sounds pretty crazy to me. I feel like if I'm hosting a party or something, or I know someone that owns a truck and we want to have them come on our street, a bunch of neighbors are like, yeah, let's pitch, let's have a food truck day on our street. We should be able to say, hey, it's a $25 permit or whatnot, and come out. For making someone who owns a food truck have to go to a special hearing to get an approval, we need to find a way to fix this process. It should be easier, or we're not going to be able to get these businesses into our neighborhoods like so many citizens are requesting. There's got to be a simpler way. I feel like the town hall should be open on Friday. That way somebody could come in and say, hey, I want to have a Friday, Saturday event, in Silver Peaks, and be able to come in and pay 25 or 50 bucks for the weekend and have that done. But right now, even with the town being closed on Friday, would make it very difficult. I feel like most food truck businesses do run more on the weekend. And if somebody running that type of business has to come in here, during the week to attend a hearing before they can even get a permit, that sounds pretty crazy. That doesn't sound very, citizen driven when citizens are saying they want these food trucks available. That's something I hear and see on social media regularly. And I would love to find a better way to make it accessible to people.
Okay. Ms. Duran, you were going to say?
Thanks, Mayor. No, I'm hearing all this, and I know that food trucks are regulated in different ways in different jurisdictions. I haven't actually ever drafted regulations myself, but I know that we have done it as a law firm for some other clients. And I'm happy to take a look at some other regulatory approaches that would really put an administrative permit in place. Now, I mean, I do know that you do want to have some restrictions on food trucks. You don't want to have them coming lining up on all your streets. They do cause traffic issues. They cause concerns with pedestrian access. So it's something that, you just don't want to open it up completely. But if we have this too bureaucratic process that takes too long, I think that's something that we can certainly look at. We can look at how other jurisdictions handle this in a more simplified manner and try to get something that works better for the town in place.
Most definitely. Is there any chance you could have something for us before the next meeting that we can look at and review and kind of mull over? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I can. What I can at least do for the next meeting is have some examples of approaches in other jurisdictions that maybe are a little more streamlined than what you're describing here.
May I say one more thing? I would really like to see something when you're looking into, these possibilities. Ideally, something would be nice if it was like a flat fee, let's say $25 for a one-day event. And in that case, if it was a single truck, I feel like we should be allowing it within our city limits to whoever feels comfortable saying yes to that truck. So if I want it in front of my house, if it was just a single truck, I feel like a homeowner should be able to do that. And if not, if it was going to be like several trucks, then I think something like at a park, like I've gone in Brighton just across the street over the summer. They were doing them regularly, almost every Friday across the street. There'd be 3 or 4 trucks on a Friday at the little park up here. I think it's Brighton East Farms up the way here on 168th. So something like that. But I just think it's really at the discretion of the homeowner. If it was just going to be like a single event, obviously not regularly or every weekend, but if it was like a once in a blue moon, I feel like people should have the ability to have it in front of their home if some people's driveways aren't big enough to host a food truck.
Well, and again, I guess I would suggest that we look at the approach of other jurisdictions. And I say that because I hear what you're saying, Trustee White, and maybe it is a possibility, but you know, it's one thing to allow it on private property. So if the Family Dollar, which is a commercial business, wants to allow a food truck on their property, that's one thing. But to open up the public rights of way so that every citizen can make a decision that they're going to have a food truck in front of their house that night, I'm not, the devil's in the details on that, and I'm not sure you're going to like the unintended consequences of it. So let's just agree to be open-minded and take a look at other ways we can handle it. And I'm happy to bring that forward to you at the next board.
Okay. Trustee Antonopoulos?
I just want to kind of dovetail on what Ms. Duran just said is, well, yes, I do think that we should make food trucks easier for food truck operators to come here. We shouldn't have to bring it up in a board meeting for them to operate for a 1 day or even maybe a 1 week permit. Maybe that's something that we should think about. What's the time frame? But
Yeah, that's good.
that could just be a fee that they pay per day to operate here. But at the same time, under no circumstances would I ever support a measure to allow food trucks on the public right of way. That's a no-go. You don't own the street in front of your house, even if you think you do. Anybody can park there and it's legal. So no, you can't have a food truck in front of your house.
All right.
Heck no.
Well, I'm just going to stop you right there because we can actually go on this all evening, and I think we know where we want to be. You know, we'd like to make this streamlined. We'd like to make this accessible. So let's continue this. Once we get more information, Mr. Duran can bring us some more "quote unquote" enlightened ways to do this. I think we can streamline it. I think we can make it more accessible for, you know, let's say I want to bring one onto my property on my acreage and have a food truck here and have friends and family over. You know, somebody might scream about COVID, but it's a whole other thing. But making that so that I can do that, or even down there on Antonoff's property, you know, where I would, or not Antonoff, on Mr. Snow's property, which is private property, where I've had 3-4 food trucks out there for events. And it's just something that we do need to look at and streamline our process on. So by all means, Mr. N, get us that. Ms. Westcott, you have the last say.
I think, sorry, I feel like we've sort of tangented off of the event part of this, and I want to bring that back around. And I think I'd like clarification, if possible, for Mr. Stamey, because I'm pretty sure that I heard in those budget meetings over the summer, in the early fall, that part of that $32,000 in the budget for events was to possibly hire someone to be an event coordinator. Am I mistaken in that?
We talked about it in last year's budget. We didn't talk about it in the 2021 budget.
Was there a significant difference in funding to that was taken out?
I believe the last year budget was something like 45,000 for events. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. And then I guess my next question is that money is as far as I know, there is no purpose at this point, like any specific things that we're funding with that money. If there are, I'd like to know what they are.
Yeah, there are no special events scheduled or funding committed for anything this year.
Okay. So then I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, public gatherings are still limited by the governor's orders on, you know, the COVID gatherings.
And I totally appreciate that. And I think what my question next is that, you know, the way that I was introduced to city government was through helping to plan the Fall Festival 2 years ago. And that was a process that began in March. And and we were not able to pull off the fall festival that we wanted because we didn't have enough time. So I guess the larger discussion here, besides if the food truck event, is just what are we planning to do in terms of events for the year, and how do we get that started so that we can have successful, because I think the community wants things like that. I've heard feedback from that. The fall festival has been one of my favorite things about living in Lochbuie, and I completely understand why we didn't have it last year, and I don't know that we will be able to have it again this year, but I'd like to see some sort of movement on using that budget, because I think that that's something that the town appreciates.
Well, I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something that, let's say, someone wanted to do a festival in the town, a town festival or some type of thing. I believe that they would bring that to the board. Am I mistaken in that, Mr. Ann, Mr. Stamey? Could they bring that forward and bring that to the board?
If a private entity wanted to an event, they could bring that to the board. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and request funding or assistance with funding or something
That's
for
correct.
a town, something for the whole town.
Which has been done in the past, as you know.
Yes. Yep. I know. I've done it. So there
I'm
is
sorry,
always that.
I just am not sure that I agree that is necessarily the approach that we ought to be taking, to have a private organization come in and say, hey, I want to fundraise to sponsor a town event, and I'm going to reach out to Excel and other big money that the town does business with in the town's name to raise money for this event that is not the town's event. I think that there's some questions there about whether or not there's a legal question about that. I'm just not sure that
they can't go out and fundraise in the town's name. They can't do that. It's, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. N, if you're doing an event, again, if we wanted to have an event, it has to be the town's event for that fundraising to go on in the town's name. And any outside of that, if we have a private entity doing it, they can still come in and request some of that funding, for an event that is for the whole town, but they're not doing it or they're not acting as a town representative, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I get where you're going. You're looking for someone to actually be, and we don't have again, Mr. Sammy, correct me if I'm wrong. You did say we didn't have the money in there to hire someone to do that job, correct? We
That's
just have the
correct.
funding in there to supply funding for any events that are brought forward.
I will say, of course, Mayor, if you don't mind,
Sure.
this is, you have the power of the purse as the legislative body of the town, right? And
Yep.
this is a matter of funding priorities. And while you have adopted a 2021 budget that either does or doesn't have some money in there for events, you can always choose as a board to amend a budget and
Yeah.
reappropriate money around if this is an important priority for this board. And events and the town's involvement in events has been something that's been discussed pretty heavily for the last few years. And as you know, especially you, Trustee Westcott, because I know you were on the front lines of this, we've gone up and down. And last year we talked about, for 2020, getting an outside consultant basically to run a few events for the town. And I think Mr. Stamey had some conversations with a consulting firm that does this for other municipalities. But as we all know, COVID happened and we couldn't hold these events. So, I guess what I would say to you is, if, this is something that you have a majority of the board is interested in really pursuing and feels that this is a priority for your community, then look at the budget and decide where it is you can find some funds to reallocate to get that to happen.
Anyone? Trustee Antonopoulos?
It seems like this conversation has gone into left field, so I just wanted to bring up something I meant to bring up before. And that is the Silver Peaks Phase 3, or the Silver Peaks East, what we're calling it. That includes a crossing over the Spear Canal.
I gotta stop you there, Trustee Antonopoulos. I gotta stop you. Can't go off of, I can't have you going off of the topic because it hasn't been brought up. It's not on the agenda. We're already past that. So I'm sorry. You can actually bring up something in the mayor and trustee comments, but I got to keep you on task on the agenda item, please.
Absolutely. I don't really have anything more to add to this, except that I do think social events would be good, but at the same time, we can't plan anything right now.
Well, not really sure where to leave this other than, at this time, we don't have an events coordinator, and anyone can actually step up and do a private event, or not even private, as a private citizen, do something for the town of Lochbuie that involves the whole town, and approach the board for funding for that, as long as it's for the town. Trustee Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just recall 2 summers ago, it'll be 2 summers ago, when we were able to do a number of events like the ice cream socials in the neighborhood parks, the family night at the Oasis. We heard nothing but appreciation and positive feedback from our constituents. And I really strongly advise us to consider tentatively penciling in some events, and I would really like to see that be a discussion item that we have on our next agenda.
I'm okay with that. I think another discussion about the possibility of those events happening again and actually scheduling them. I think that's a great idea. We still have to, unfortunately, abide by the COVID issues, but no, I'm all for it. And if we sit down and we plan them out and we have them laid in and scheduled, and we can't do it at that time, I think it's better that we have it there and in the wings and waiting than last minute stuff. But Trustee Westcott.
I completely agree with that, and I think that was where I was trying to go. So I appreciate Trustee Jeffrey clarifying that position for everyone. The one other thing I just want to make sure that I'm clear on is that I never thought that the town was going to hire a full-time or even a part-time necessarily position for an events coordinator. My understanding was that it would be like a contract with the firm that plans events. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear, that we're not talking about taking a full-time salary or adding anybody to full-time staff. It would be more like an independent contractor to do specific things. And my understanding of that is that's much more feasible in terms of that budget than hiring somebody. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay.
And I can put out a contact to see if that one firm is a small firm still doing that. They're still in business, but I can reach out to them.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. All right, anyone have anything else on this? I'm not seeing any hands. Then we will move on to Town Administrative Report. Mr. Stamey.
So Mayor, just one quick update for the board. We will be bringing an ordinance to amend our oil and gas regulations. There'll be a public hearing with the board, and we want to add a specific standard for if you have existing oil wells on a property and somebody wants to plat new residential lots on that property, what the setback is for those new lots from the existing oil and gas facilities. So that will be the nature of the ordinance we'll be bringing to the board.
What's our current setback?
Well, the current setback is not a hard number. It's something the board can determine in the review. There are setbacks for oil and gas facilities if a new one is built from existing lots. But the question is that a lot of places have reduced setbacks when there's an existing facility that's already been drilled, how close lots can be platted to that oil and gas facility. So that's the discussion.
Okay. All right.
Do we know what they're wanting the setback to be, or we don't have any idea?
We have a proposal we will bring to the board in an ordinance form, and right now we're looking at a standard where the setbacks will increase as the number of wellheads on a given site increase. So it'd be a graduated setback.
Okay, anyone else have anything else? No? All right, anything else, Mr. Stamey?
That's all. I just wanted to alert the board that that'll be coming forward.
Okay. All right, Mayor and trustee comments. Trustee White?
I've got nothing.
Okay. Trustee Antonopoulos?
So, Mr. Mayor, what I was trying to say earlier, and to be honest, this dovetails directly into social interaction with our townspeople. As you are aware, Silver Peaks, which accounts for probably like at least 20% of the population of the town, is literally physically cut off from the rest of the town by the Spear Canal. And of course, that's been a lot of discussions. The reason I brought this up is because Silver Peaks Filing Number 1 amendment.
You're muted.
You're muted. Trustee Antonopoulos, you're muted.
There, can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yes.
There you
So
go.
the reason this dovetails into what I was talking about before, as far as social interaction in the town, is that one of the documents, and again, and I apologize for my misstep earlier because things got a little jumbled in this specific item, which I had written notes on my PDF to bring up. But the Silver Peaks Filing Number 1, Amendment number whatever, sorry, people are over, Amendment number 3. This shows a crossing over the Spear Canal. Silver Peaks is literally cut off. Like, we can't walk there without braving that bridge. That's why we all voted to get that thing done this year. And I understand things happen in construction. I understand. I'm not mad at anybody. It's okay. My question is, when is this bridge going to happen with this next Silver Peaks filing? I want to know, like, can we expect this anytime soon? I mean, or are we just still the orphans of Silver Peaks and we go to Brighton for what we need because we literally can't walk there or do anything?
Oh, Mr. Stamey, did you want to?
So there are two bridge crossings, what's called the Amendment Number 3 or Silver Peaks East. There's an internal street with a residential street bridge crossing in their subdivision. The County Road 2 crossing is, as we all know, is a bigger project. Right now, that will probably be best case scenario starting in November of this year.
But do you understand that having a bridge over Spear Canal would make a world of difference to us in Silver Peaks? Having somewhere where we could cross the canal. We don't have one.
But we will. It's coming.
When?
Well, as Mr. Stamey said, November, unfortunately, we pushed to try and get this thing done. Mr. Stamey, stepped up and he did a couple of things that I believe Frico and others said they, was going to take a while. He got those things done, but unfortunately, we're now in a position where we have no say in when that gets done because we've now missed our target date for Frico because they've got to start putting water back in that thing here very soon, and we are waiting on a combination of Brighton and the developers or the builders, the construction company, and Excel. And we
But
have
my question isn't about County Road 2. I'm not talking about County Road 2. I'm talking about Silver Peaks, these latest
East,
drawings.
they're actually out there working on that now. Is this correct, Steve? They're working on that right now.
Okay.
The internal bridge of what's going to be called Ledge Street is going to be put in place sooner. Isn't that right, Steve?
That's correct.
Yes.
It's my understanding they're going to try to get that done this season. So that bridge would be built by the March date.
Yeah, because they want to start building homes in spring.
Right.
So you're saying that bridge will be done before summer?
Yes.
That is absolutely wonderful news. I mean, I think I could speak for most of us in Silver Peaks. It says that is amazing that we can cross that canal sooner rather than later, because again, we are literally blocked off out here.
Yes. So that's part of their phase 1 construction in Silver Peaks East.
But again,
Well-
that's internal within the Silver Peak subdivision,
Yeah.
right? So that's gonna be a lot of dirt while they're building houses out there. But you will be able to cross the canal because they need to build that bridge to get over there and start building houses.
Correct.
Yeah. And also, Steve, on that note, what's our timeline on the trail system at the power easement?
So we're going to start bringing the design. The design will be done this year. Construction will be in 2022.
Okay, so that's off and a ways yet. But anyway, okay. All right, Trustee Antonopoulos, anything else?
That's it. That's really all I wanted to bring up earlier.
Okay.
And I'm sorry I missed my opportunity, but thank you very much, Mayor.
All right.
And everyone else.
All right, Trustee Coomerly?
I'm good. I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Jeffrey?
Thank you. I really appreciate how great our newsletter looks visually when we open it. I do think that we should have potentially given a little bit more transparency about the delay on the construction update. It seemed like it was sort of lacking information, and I think that if we were a little bit more proactive, it might head off some negative comments that we sometimes see on social media. And I also was just going to say I miss the mayor's corner. I really liked that little kind of personal touch, and if we might want to consider and talk about as a board, maybe each of us taking a turn writing a little blurb. Maybe even it's a get to know you section, since we have a lot of new members. I would just like to see us thinking about how we could add a little bit more to our newsletter.
Well, and then just let me bounce off of that real quick, because when it was time to put in for the newsletter, we didn't have all the information on that update. So you're talking about something we have to put in, week and a half before we even go to printer. So it's a process, and I'm not going to put anything in there that I'm not sure of. And that was one of those things that we definitely want to update everybody and keep people updated. And now we're sure that this isn't going to happen. Yeah, until the end of this year now. Now we can actually print it, but it's after the fact. So,
well, maybe we could do a banner or an announcement on our main page if people go to the website. And I don't know if anything has been put on our Facebook page, but we could consider doing that as well. I just think the more we can be proactive and share that information, the better. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Trustee Westcott?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to start again by thanking the town staff for their great support. I had a question this week and I emailed Mark Johns, and he got back right away to me and answered my question and taught me some things, and I was really appreciative of that. I just want to say really quickly that, the whole reason that I decided to run for this position was because one of my core values is to promote community unity. And I think, to Trustee Antonopoulos' point a few minutes ago, we right now we have 3 distinct areas of homeowners, and they're separated by distance, and there's no good way to get between any of them. And so I feel very strongly that these community events that we've held over the past few years, that the town has sponsored and coordinated, do a lot to bring the town together, to try and minimize that separation. And so I feel very strongly that that should be a priority of the board, to make sure that we're moving forward and trying to build a unified community through these social events and any other means that we can come up with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ott?
Get off mute. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm on mute. The only thing I want to bring up is we've discussed this earlier. Are we finally going to get back to real meetings, or are we going to continue with these Zoom
Well,
experiences?
yeah, because I'm tired of looking at the top of your head, Dave. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things I was going to delve into. I wanted to pretty much poll the board. Did you have anything else, Dave, before I jump in here?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Because yeah, that is one of the things I wanted to do, is pretty much pull the board and make sure and see where we're at. My preference is to actually have meetings in person. You know, we can still do the spacing and all of that stuff and masks, and I struggle with this format because I don't think we get, I don't think we connect in the way that we should. And I mean, we can sit here and look at each other through a camera, but when we're in person and we're actually having these discussions, I think we lose a lot in translation sitting here. So my vote actually is to move back to a in-person meeting. So I just wanted to have put that question out there, and if you would, those in favor of having an in-person meeting, raise your hands. I can see you. So, and those opposed. So we have 2 opposed and 3 for. Who did I miss? Let's see. So, let me do it this way because I'm counting and then I forget who is. So, Mr. Kimberly, a yes. Okay. Trustee Jeffrey, yes or no?
I'm really good with either.
Okay. So I'll put you as a yes because we're going to do either. Trustee White. Okay. And Trustee Westcott.
I think we should probably make a decision on that based on data. And I'm not sure what that point is, but I'd say no at this point.
Well, and you still have the option to use the internet as well and show up virtually. Trustee Antonopoulos? Yes, no?
I would say no, based upon the current recommendations from the state. And
Okay.
personally, I would go remote forever because, yeah.
Okay. And Trustee Yacht, I know your answer.
Yes, in person.
Okay. So we do have 5-2 in favor of, and again, as I said, I would prefer to, meet in person and have these meetings. So we have a majority of people that would. Now there's 2 of you that are against it, and I don't think anyone would have any qualms with you still meeting virtually. I don't think that would be an issue. So,
So we're going to the regular meeting on the 16th?
that would be my preference. Anyone have any? I know we have 2 that don't want to, but any of the 5 that are going for it, would we have any issue on the 16th?
No.
If no, Mr. Kimberly,
I will be there.
Trustee Jeffrey,
As long as we're not going against any of the governor's mandates, I guess.
yeah, Trustee or Ms. Durant, go ahead.
Just one thing I want to make sure is that I do think that until public health orders change, that you're going to need to continue to have a Zoom link to allow the public to participate in these meetings
Yes.
if they want to participate and they have health concerns at a minimum. I mean, there are exceptions for government meetings to happen. Frankly, and I've told the mayor this before, I don't know of any other jurisdictions who are back in person at this point, but somebody's going to be the first at some time. So I get that. But I don't know technically, I'm looking at Ms. Blackston, how she feels about being able to get a camera on everybody that's in the room such that trustees who feel more comfortable being remote can be remote and yet still see everybody that they're co-legislating with, and the public can see everybody. So I feel like you're still going to have a Zoom meeting, and just one screen will be the group in the room. And I don't know how the technology works for that. I just putting that out there because I do believe you need to have a Zoom option for the public while these public health orders are in place.
Well, yeah, and I mean, within that, and once again, that's one thing I wanted to remind people. Please, if you haven't, go into town hall and pick up your mail. You have a mailbox, every one of you, and some of you still have some stuff in there. I don't know if it's been delivered to you or not. But you also have a tablet in there that you all need to go pick up if you haven't yet. Those are ready for everyone. Am I correct in that, Ms. Blackson, that all the tablets are ready?
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay, so please go in, pick up your mail, pick up your tablet. And, you know, if we do go to a regular meeting in person, I think it would be beneficial if we have our tablets sitting in front of us and still doing the Zoom so that people at home can still see what's going on. And the 2 board members are still virtually with us as well. I'm just ready for this whole thing to be over with, frankly. But anyway, I'm actually kind of going back and forth because I do want to go into the 16th at a regular meeting. But honestly, Mr. Anderson brought up a couple of points, and I think we need to work out a little bit of logistics. So I think for sake of Ms. Blackson and the logistics, Ms. Blackson and Ms. Sanchez, I think we'll still do this on the 16th, and we'll look at the first meeting in next month so that we can figure out the logistics on this and make sure that we can actually, you know, give everyone the ability to still be in the meeting as far as residents and whatnot. So, Mr. Ott, it looks like you're frothing at the mouth. You want to speak? No?
No, I'm okay. I just
Okay.
like
Can I just say,
I don't recognize his authority anyhow.
Okay.
For the 16th, would it not be possible for those of us who feel comfortable to bring our iPads down to the town hall and just, they can set up the meeting just like they have been, and we can just.
I think we can. That's kind of the direction I was going to. But go ahead, Ms. Blackson.
yeah, we can. We'll practice that before. I think how it works. So here's because, you know, our AV system they've improved it a little bit, but because the AV system is still, it's very expensive to fix what we would need to do. Like if you ever watch the City of Brighton one, theirs is pretty expansive. We just don't have that AV system here. So a couple things to consider. If you do the Zoom and you all have your iPads on, the people in the room will have to have all mute because you'll have all the echo. And then when we live stream, I'm trying to think about this because they made a couple changes. When they live stream, it'll show the people in the room, and so the Zoom people will just be heard, I think. So we got to practice this. So we can figure it out. Yeah, it'll be one or the other. We can't do Zoom and the people in the room because of our system. So if you guys are okay with that, which, you know, in the past, I think prior to me coming on, they had the ability to call in. So it'll be similar to that. You wouldn't be able to see everybody because we just don't have that ability. So the live streaming would show the people in the building.
Okay, so then I'm going back to what I was saying before. Let's go ahead and do a virtual on the 16th. Give them time to figure this out so that we can go on the first Tuesday of next month and go back into open session.
Thank you.
Any issues with that? No? Okay. All right. And that's about it. Once again, everybody, make sure you go into town hall very soon. Pick up your mail and pick up your tablets, please. And one other thing, Mr. Kimmerly, I've tried to call you. Can you please give me a call when you get a chance?
Oh, are you
All right.
serious? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if you could just give me a buzz. And with that, we will, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned at 7:37. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll talk to you
Good
soon.
night, everyone.
Thank you.
What's up?
Good night. Thank you.
Maureen? Oh, she